Why did Rob Manfred get on a plane and fly all the way from New York to Arizona to meet with Tony Clark? Because that's what was going to be necessary to get a deal. At some point, you go to the top. All negotiations happen at the president level in baseball, the GM level. You know how it works. It starts with scouts when you're looking at a trade or a signing. Then you work your way, and you've got the AGMs who talk and say, would you have interest in this? How about this trade? How about would you talk about this player? Then when it gets serious, the GMs talk. Well, you'd really be willing to talk about Delgado? Would you be willing to talk about Cabrera? How do you feel about Stanton? Then it gets to presidents. Hey, you know, our GMs are talking, but we're going to have to really have a money conversation. Then you say at the end, well, you know, I got to go to the owner. We got to get final sign off here by the owner. Even though, of course, there's been communication with the owner the whole time. You know whether or not you can do the deal or not do the deal. But you use it as a last resort to make a little change, to try to get a better player, to try to get another player, a different player, a final check. When you're signing a free agent and you have a deal with the agent, you then say, I got to check with my owner one more time. Hey, any way that we could get it down from 15 million to 14.8 million, or could we switch around some of the years? You always have the owner have plausible deniability in terms of involvement in a negotiation, because then you can use him as the hammer. That's what's going on in collective bargaining. You've got people at different levels in the labor department of Major League Baseball, labor relations department. It's called the LRD. You've got people at the union, but you leave Tony Clark and Rob Manfred. You leave them be, because there's going to come a time when they're going to have to get in a room, whether it's a virtual room or an actual room, and get a deal done. One thing that we never wanted to allow was our owner to have private conversations with an agent, with a player, with an executive, with another owner. We never wanted that to happen. Not because we didn't trust our owner, because when two people meet without any witnesses, when there's no recording, there's no one taking notes, how many times do two people leave that room, leave that conversation with completely different views of what happened? All the time. So is it a surprise that there was a frenzy yesterday? I think the frenzy came after we recorded the show yesterday. The frenzy was that Manfred goes to Arizona, meets with Tony Clark, deal progressing, deal imminent, Twitter going crazy. We're live on CBS Sports HQ. I'm on there from 3 to 3:30 p.m. yesterday talking with Jim Bowden about the deal, the excitement. I'm getting ready to shave. I'm thinking about the TikTok video and how many days and how I'm going to shave the beard and how Coca's going to shave it. Will we leave a mustache for a day? How about mutton chops? How about a goatee? Maybe just the patch right here. Who knows? By the way, if you're not watching this, then you don't know what I just did, but I was pointing in my face. Then all of a sudden, more tweets come out. There is no final deal, the union says. Any rumor of a full agreement is false. Then more people with sources. Deal expected this weekend. Deal expected tonight. Deal not expected. What was really discussed? Then we started with the statements. Rob Manfred did another statement saying, I flew to Arizona. We met face to face. We have an agreement, and I am going to my constituency, meaning the owners, and I trust that he is doing the same. Tony Clark made it clear maybe there was something of a discussion or a proposal, but not an agreement. So what was MLB doing? MLB proposed 60 games, full prorated salary, a universal DH, expanded playoffs, and then the final, no grievances. The union will waive the right to file a grievance. Major League Baseball will waive the right to file a grievance, and everything will be A-okay. All of a sudden, players started going public and saying, 60 games, that's not enough. We want more. People panicked. Not people who listen to Nothing Personal, because you never panic, because you all know the ups and downs of negotiating. You know that it's not over until the fat lady sings. And that's not a very nice thing to say. There's plenty of people who aren't fat who sing. Is that the expression, or did I make that up? I thought there was an expression. It's never over till the fat lady sings. I'm going to change it right now. It's never over until the person at the end, no matter if it's a he, she, or they, starts singing? What does singing have to do with the deal being done or with something being over? You know what? That whole expression should be done away with. We have a new expression here at Nothing Personal. It's not over until the John Hancock occurs. Let's do that. You all know what John Hancock is. The signature. Can I have your John Hancock, please? Bonus question on Nothing Personal. What document did John Hancock sign? At David P. Samson. DM me. It's a pretty easy one. That's when there's an agreement. In the meantime, let it go. Don't get too happy. Don't get too sad. Don't get too angry. Don't get too crazy. Just know that what's going on, as we told you, we'll tell you again, is negotiating. Did Rob Manfred believe that an agreement was done in Arizona in a meeting with Tony Clark face-to-face? No. No matter what Rob Manfred says. Did Tony Clark think that there was an agreement done in the meeting between Rob Manfred and Tony Clark in Arizona? No. What they both knew is there had been progress enough that then they had to start papering new details, new provisions, but there was still not a final on the number of games. But the owners had agreed now to full prorated salary. No more arguing about that. The union knew that they could not go forward with any sort of season without the waiving of grievances. The union understands that. Now they're just discussing games. Why the number of games matters? Not because the purists are saying you have to have more than 60 to have a real season. Not because anybody has an opinion other than the players saying, we want to play more games for money. If you're going to pay us a full prorated salary, then we want to play as many games as possible. They've already agreed the season has to end by September 27th. So now they've got to come to this situation where they decide, is it 65 games, 66 games, 64 games, 63 games, 68 games? They will choose a number and a deal will be done, but the season is not being impacted by this delay. Stop believing the narrative that you are reading, that the owners are stalling and this back and forth is hurting baseball's ability to play the most games possible. It's not true.